Model kits are nothing new to the hobby world, and its significance has been seen in countless media, and Yu-Gi-Oh! Is no exception. We have our fair share of powerful mechs in the game, but their reach has finally made it to rush duels in the form of the PLASMATICS. These Thunder Ritual monsters, a first in the entirety of Yu-Gi-Oh!, serve to be a simple and easy to deploy early introduction to the new summoning mechanic for rush duels. Hello everyone, my name is Protagonist, you can call me Protag, and I'm back with another episode of Rush Review. This is a series where I go over decks and themes to help introduce them to people who might want to learn about Rush, or for those who might want to try something new. With how new rituals are to Rush duels, many of the cards just have pretty simple effects. However, a lot of my interest lies in the cards that you can use to build up your more powerful models, and the different strategies you can use with ritual summoning. We have to start our building with an overview of the parts. What monsters and tools are we working with to make these cool figures? Then we need to find good accessories, cards that will help our monsters shine and look even better than before. Finally, we do need to acknowledge the warnings. We can't just throw them around after all. So what do we have to keep in mind when using the deck? With all that being said, let's begin. The PLASMATICS consist of three main monsters that will control the flow of battle. Your main model is going to be Plasmatic Model Lenoir. On the main phase that you normal summon this card, send a card from your hand to the grave. Then you can increase its level by 4 until the rest of the turn. Then if you haven't drawn a card during the main phase, you get to draw one. This can basically give you access to any of your ritual monsters, as long as you have the spell card of course, and since they're all level 8 and you get a potential card draw for extension, it's a pretty good card to have in hand. Next up, we have Plasmatic Model Listella. This witch needs you to send a monster from your field to the grave, and then you can destroy a spell or trap on your opponent's field. However, she does lock you into attacking with only thunder monsters, but that's whatever. Listella is your main source of back row hate, but you are trading 1 for 1, so make sure you have a plan even after you use her effect. And finally, we have Plasmatic Model Blau. By returning a Thunder Ritual monster with 1600 defense from your grave to your extra deck, you can destroy a face-up level 8 or lower monster on your opponent's field. Then for the rest of the turn, you can only attack with Thunder monsters. Blau is amazing for the long game, being able to bring back key ritual monsters as the duel goes on. And she comes with a pretty good destruction effect to target key monsters on your opponent's board. But these wouldn't be model kits if you couldn't add more pieces to make them even stronger. Starting off, we have the powerful Plasmatic Model Rising Lenoir. She just has the continuous effect of gaining attack equal to its level times 200. So at level 8, that's an additional 1600 attack for a grand total of 4000. That can definitely clear over a lot of monsters and is going to be your main source of damage. So you either want to have a clear shot at their life points or debuff a monster enough where this will hurt a lot. Our mage gets an upgrade to become Plasmatic Model Rising Listella. On the main phase that you special summon this card, shuffle 2 monsters from your grave back into your deck. Then you can destroy a face down card on your opponent's field. Practically a direct upgrade to Listella's old effect, this ritual monster gives you the choice of a face down back row or a face down monster. It's a great way to bypass any destruction protection many high level monsters boast nowadays. Plasmatica Model Rising Blau continues to provide utility, just in a different way than before. She has the continuous effect of preventing your face-down spell and trap cards on your field from being destroyed by your opponent's card effects. This can help when you want to place traps or even spell cards on your board, so you can open up your hand for more cards in the future. And so with these girls, you have your main arsenal of attackers, but you can't make your models without the right tools and parts. So let me introduce them to you. Plasmatic Model Turret Glue needs you to send a card to the grave to increase the level up to 2 face-up thunder monsters on your field by 4 for the turn. Once again, there's a thunder lock like with many of the other level 4 supports, but this one card can give you the ability to make just one monster able to be used for a ritual summon instead of the usual 2. Outside of using Lenoir, of course. Speaking of Lenoir though, you can use this ability on Plasmatic Model Rising Lenoir to increase her level to 12, buffing her attack even more. Next up is Plasmatic Model Buniper. Outside of the neat design, on the turn that you normal summon this card, you can add back a Plasmatic Model Turret Glue or a Plasmatic Model Maintenance from the grave to the hand. This helps a lot with utility, giving you another way to turn your ritual summoned online. Or it can give you a powerful spell to deal tons of damage. Then we have the companion monsters with each model, starting with Plasmatic Model Sonic Horse. If you send this face-up card from your hand to the grave, you can add back a Plasmatic Model Lenoir and or a Plasmatic Model Docking from your grave to your hand. This one horse has the ability to basically make your Plasmatic Model Rising Lenoir, which is amazing tempo and can surprise your opponents when it hits the field. Especially when you normal Lenoir, use her effect, ritual summon Rising Lenoir, summon the horse, use the horse's effect to discard itself for both Lenoir and the ritual spell, rinse and repeat, Now you have 2 Plasmatic Rising Lenoirs on the field, both with 4000 attack. Plasmatic Smart Owl on the turn that you normal summon it needs you to shuffle 2 level 4 Thunder-type monsters with 800 defense from your grave to the deck. Then you can change an opponent's monster to face down defense and set a Plasmatic model play from your grave to the spell and trap zone. So this owl helps to set up for Plasmatic model Rising Listella with the card flipping, giving you a way to remove huge monsters on your opponent's board. And then you can also get the ritual spell. So once again, you have the potential of doing this all in one turn, which is pretty amazing. And then finally, we have Blau's Companion, Plasmatic Model Universe Glider. On the turn that you normal summon this card, send the top 2 cards of your deck to the grave. Then you can set a Plasmatic Model play from your grave to the spell and trap zone. Once again, this gives you the ritual spell to use, but also gives you some mill, which helps to give more chances for key cards to get in there for you to retrieve later. Now that we've gone over all the monsters, let's go over the spells that give us access to the power of the Plasmatics. Start your journey with Plasmatic Model Open. This card lets you excavate the top 4 cards of your deck to add 1 level 4 or lower Thunder monster with 800 defense or a Plasmatic Model Maintenance to your hand. The rest of the cards need to be added back to the bottom of the deck in any order. This card has a pretty good chance of hitting, since this includes all of the Plasmatic monsters. So even if you have no monsters in hand, you can probably get something started using this card. Keep your models in perfect condition with Plasmatic Model Maintenance. Equip this card to 1 face-up light thunder monster on your field. That monster gains 500 attack and 4 additional levels. If the monster that you equip this to is a ritual monster, you also gain the ability to pierce. I think you can see the potential here. Put this on your Plasmatic Model Rising Lenoir to make her an absolute powerhouse. But there are other ways to use it. You could equip this onto your level 4 monsters as well, making them level 8 for the ritual summon. Obviously, you do want to utilize all effects to be efficient, but don't be too tunnel visioned when you have other opportunities. Create the ultimate model with Plasmatic Model Docking. This ritual spell lets you summon Plasmatic Model Rising Lenoir by sending face-up thunder monsters from your field to the grave, whose total levels are 8 or more. You do get Thunder locked here again, just like most of the other Plasmatic cards, but that's not really a big deal. And while Lenoir gets her own ritual card, Listella and Blau have Plasmatic Model Play. This lets you ritual summon Plasmatic Model Rising Listella or Plasmatic Model Rising Blau by using face-up thunder-type monsters from your field to the grave with levels equaling 8 or more as material. Since the other 2 ritual monsters are more utility focused, it does make sense in a way that they share the same ritual spell. Thankfully, there's a few ways to recycle this card, so it's not too bad. And surprisingly, that's it. Plasmatics don't have any native trap cards to use. Maybe we'll get some more in the future, like ones that can fusion cancel or ritual cancel when you sack a ritual on your field to put down your base level 4s or something, but who knows. But that just means we have to rely on some outside help to bolster our defenses to provide more ways to win. With monsters, there are a few that I've seen roaming around. Since we are mainly Thunder locked with this deck, our choices are pretty limited. But there are some good Thunder monsters that we can use. To open up the battlefield, summon the legend monster Zaborg, the Thunder Monarch, to remove any monsters that stand in your way. The next 2 cards though, they're technically the same, but with slightly different abilities. By sending the top card of your deck to the grave, Lightning Bringer Spirit lets you shuffle a card from your opponent's grave back into the deck. If it was a spell or trap card, you can shuffle an additional card from their graves to the deck. This can be a great way to disrupt your opponent's plays, since you can make key pieces of your opponent's deck unsearchable. In mirror matches, this can send your ritual spells back to the deck and make it even harder to make your main monsters. Dancing Lightning Bringer Spirit can activate her effect on the turn that you normal summon this card, and you have 10 or more cards in your deck. Shuffle 1 card from each player's graveyard into the respective owner's deck, then if your opponent has 5 or less cards in their grave, you can draw a card. I've seen reasoning of adding one or the other, never really both of them of course. It really just depends on what you're feeling or what your opponent might be playing, so that you can choose which ones you want to add into your deck instead. Anyway, next up we have Chemipet Parakeet, or Chemipet Chirp. Thanks, Duel Links. It's an interesting pickup for the deck. It was pretty useful in Berry Fresh, and I guess you can utilize its ability here too. If you have no other monsters on the field, reveal 1 Pyro, Aqua, or Thunder type monster in your hand. Then you mill 3 from your deck and add a Pyro, Aqua, or Thunder monster that has the same level as the revealed monster from your grave to your hand. Since all the main deck Plasmatics are level 4, this is a great way to try and add certain monsters to your hand. The only downside is that now you have an awkward level 1 monster on the field. There's no tributes outside of Zaborg if you use it, and the even numberness of the Plasmatics make it so that you can't slip this guy into a ritual summon. So take that in mind when you want to add this to your deck. The only other thing that I saw is, I guess, using it as cost for Listella's effect, since you can just discard it afterwards. but that's really it. Bolt Griffin can be used for some simple graveyard setup. If you have 10 or more cards in your deck, send a Thunder monster from your hand to the grave. Then you can draw a card. It's great if you have ways to bring those cards back or are trying to set up something for later. And, hey, it's a level 4 body for your ritual, so it works out. But if you really want to mill cards, Hyper Assistant Beery, or Sparkle the Hyper Assistant, can be of use to you. By discarding this face-up card, you can mill the top 3 cards of your deck. Then, if you have Ember the Super Assistant in your graveyard, you can destroy a spell or trap on your opponent's board. Obviously, the second half of this effect isn't being used, but milling 3 to bolster the graveyard isn't too bad when so many of your cards can bring them back. There's also a pretty decent chance you brick, not getting enough monsters or even any rituals. Since all of your damage is in the extra deck, it's possible that you want some heavy hitters in the main deck as well. In my opinion, the best option for that would probably have to be Thunder Cavalry Trigger Drago. When you send the top card of your deck to the graveyard, this card gains 300 attack for the turn. If your opponent has no cards in hand, this card also gains Piercing. It's a decent attacker, but it's up to you if it's worth adding. I can see this being good if you get Shade Eat or something and have 2 face downs that you can't use as ritual material. That's like an ideal situation. Nothing that will guarantee be happening. However, you can actually run this in tandem with a new spell from Axel Road of the Attack, Triggered Lightning. This spell needs you to send the top 2 cards of your deck to the grave, then you can give one of your face-up effect monsters 300 attack and pierce. If, somehow, neither player has cards in hand, you can then special summon a Thunder Cavalry Trigger Drago from your grave to the field. We already talked about Zaborg, but other legend monsters you could run are things like the Creator. This level 8 legend monster lets you special summon a monster from your grave face up to the field. But then you do have to send a card from your hand to the grave, so make sure you have at least just one. You can totally use this to bring back your rituals from the graveyard. The level and the typing checks out as well to use this as a ritual monster, so this actually can be some clean synergy. While it's not the same typing, Card Trooper could be a good add as well. Its milling effect and ability to remove itself from the field gives you exactly what you need to try and turn on your combos and give you resources for your own plays. So what about spells? Since this is a ritual deck, you do already have to sacrifice a lot of slots for your rituals, which means the cards you add need to provide great value. And you know what card has incredible value here? A trap that actually synergizes super well with this deck? That's right folks, 1000 more years of Shiny Shady. This trap activates whenever your opponent normal or special summons a monster on their turn. By sending a card from your hand to the grave, you can make 2 effect monsters on your opponent's field turn to face down defense position. And if any of those monsters have 2600 or more attack, you gain 1500 life points. This card just does so much. When activated at the right time, it'll shut down your opponent's turn by preventing them from using their powerful monsters. But since they are in face-down defense, they can't activate their effects and are prime targets for your plasmatic model Rising Listella. And if you can't make it, you at least have them in defense so that you can attack over them with Lenoir, and you can make it hurt more if you have a maintenance equipped. This is such a great card for the deck. I really don't know what could be better. But if we do have to talk about some alternatives, I've seen intentional draw be used as well as a preventative measure against larger bosses. But all you're doing is adding a ritual monster back to your extra deck without guarantee that you can get any resources back. So it's like a toss-up of whether or not it's good enough. Abyskite Monochrome Ray is another pick since you're running light monsters. Shuffle 3 level 4 or lower light and or dark monsters from the graveyards into the respective owner's decks. Then the attacking monster loses attack equal to the total levels of the monster shuffle times 200 for the rest of the turn. This is a pretty good control tool as well. My only issue is that if you use this a lot, you'll have a lot less monsters in your grave that you can retrieve. Another control option could be Star Salvation Shield. When your opponent draws a card or they normal or special summon a monster during their turn, send a monster from your deck to the grave. Then for the rest of the turn, your opponent can only declare 1 attack. Additionally, you can then take control of a face-up level 9 or higher Magical Knight fusion monster with 3000 attack from your opponent. Limiting how much you lose can be a game changer, since your monsters can still be used for future rituals if necessary. Back row hate is always important, so I've seen people using Trail Blitzing Thunder Blasts, an older rush card, as removal. Honestly, there's nothing wrong with the classics. If you need to use it, use it. For legend spells, especially in this deck, I think the more resources, the better. So just use cards that can provide more draw power. I've also seen people run Monster Reborn. I guess it makes sense because then you can bring a ritual monster back with the spell and then you can use its effect and attack with it. Legend Trap should focus more on bouncing monsters. And maybe the only card that does that well is Compulsory Evacuation Device. But if you're confident, run Magic Cylinder instead so you can deal tons of damage and maybe even secure a win the next turn. So how exactly am I supposed to play this deck? Honestly, it's pretty straightforward. As long as you have the ritual spell accessible, any 1 or 2 monsters will net you a ritual monster. Make Lenoir when you want to clear over large monsters or deal substantial damage to your opponent. Make Listella to remove face-down cards to make it easier for your Lenoir to attack. And make Blau on turns where you might not have a good play at the moment, but you want to protect your back row to have more card draw the next turn. But the nice thing about rituals is that you can use them as material for another ritual summon. So for example, after a turn that you've had Plasmatic Model Rising Blau out protecting your back row, you can use a different ritual spell to make either Lenoir or Listella. Or here's the dream scenario. Your opponent has a couple of cards face down, either in the back row or thanks to your card effects. If you can ritual summon Plasmatic Model Rising Listella multiple times, maybe with the help of Plasmatic Model Smart Owl, you can actually destroy multiple cards on the board. The chances of that are low, of course, but it'd be pretty cool to see. But then we have to ask, what are the weaknesses of the Plasmatics? Well, one is that you really only have one main attacker in the form of Rising Lenoir. If your opponent has a well-timed Shady or a Mirror Force, you've lost your offense and a lot of resources. That's why having alternatives is possible, but finding the right ratio is key. Speaking of traps, back row removal is tough for the Plasmatics as well, since Listella is your only source of any spell trap removal. That's why we need supplementary cards like Jest or Thunderblast to help with that. We really don't want to get cylindered in the face for 4,000. Another critical weakness is the pretty slow early game. You can be pretty unlucky and just draw the level 4s with no way to get a ritual spell. So then you're stuck with the dreaded set 3 pass and pray that you get something soon. Thankfully, it's Rush Duel, so it's actually possible to come back from that. And now we reach the deck building part of the video, where we're actually going to try something a little different. Here's the deck list I settled on for now. The cards just got released, so things may change in the future, but I'm pretty okay with what I have. I like the utility and the synergy of the Bolt Griffin more than Lightning Bringers, so that's why I brought them instead of the other. So now that you have a general idea of what the deck looks like, let's actually jump into some games. Yeah, you heard me right. We're actually playing Rush Duels this time. So the first game is pretty solid. I start off easy with Blau and Turtglue, using Turtglue's effect to boost both of their levels to Ritual Summon with play, making a Rising Blau and using my other ritual spell to make a Rising Lenoir. My opponent doesn't seem to have anything good since they just set a few in pass. At that point, I didn't know what they were playing, so I thought maybe it was a mirror match, because people like to play the new stuff. I had no mercy though, as I summoned a base Lenoir and used her effect to make her level 8 to use another ritual spell to make a second Rising Lenoir. To add salt to the wound, I also had a maintenance in hand, so I equipped that onto one of my Lenoirs as well. I attacked with my big Lenoir first and deal some good damage, but then my opponent had Splendid Slash and removed my second Lenoir. Thankfully, I still had Blau, who took care of the rest of the board. On their turn though, they activate Jest to remove only my Blau to make sure that they get the bonus card draw. Then they Ghost Cyclone me to remove the equip spell. Like, how insane was that draw for them? They then play Harpy Regina and Harpy Lady to contact fuse into Harpy Regina's Splendid Armor. They then used her effect to remove my other Lenoir from the field to get some damage in. On my turn though, I summoned the spaceship to get back my Plasmatic Model play and summoned another Turtglue and a second Blau. I used base Blau's effect to destroy Harpy Regina and Turtglue's effect to boost its level at 8 to ritual summon for a Rising Lenoir again. And yep, that face down was another ritual spell, letting me summon Rising Listella to destroy the face down card and attack for game. I'll say it though, I did get pretty lucky that game with some great draws, because literally the next game I drew badly and, well, they didn't. Honestly, one of the fastest games I've ever played, but who else but Harpies to do something crazy like that? Then we play a game against an Animagica player. This game, I think I got pretty lucky with 2 Plasmatic openings that I used to grab level 4s to then ritual into Rising Blau, and then use the ship to retrieve the ritual spell again for the next turn. My other face down was Shiny Shady, which is offline, but it's fine because I can set it up for a different turn. My opponent then drops 2 Sorcerers, which worried me, but then they tribute them both for Prime Rex and Shooter. Then I summoned Turtglue and Listella, used Listella's effect to remove the face down, which was their own offline Shady, and then summoned the Smart Owl to turn the Whip face down, setting that up for the ritual summon into Rising Listella, allowing me to destroy the face down Whip. Then I used my Graceful Charity to cycle in some new cards and went for battle to clear the board. On the next turn, my opponent then had a Pot of Arrogance to draw another 2 and set a pretty standard Animagica board. And of course, a level 12 wasn't enough against Shooter, but at least it wasn't destroyed by effect and saved my life points. However, I knew if I didn't win on this turn, I was pretty much cooked, so I start with using Buniper to bring back in maintenance and begin to plan. I normal summon Bolt Griffin and Turtclue, but not use any of their effects. Then I activate Turtclue's effect to increase their levels by 4 to make her level 12 with 4800 attack. Then I used the other maintenance I had in my hand to equip to Lenoir, and that boosted her attack to 6100. So I went for it, and thank goodness we got the dub. And with that, it is the end of our rush review of the Plasmatics. I hope you all enjoyed the video. Please let me know what you thought about it in the comments below. Be sure to like and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more. Thank you for staying with me, and I hope to continue to make rush duels look super fun as they are. Anyway, this is Protagonist signing out for tonight, and I will see you all next time. Peace.